I'm Monica Cesarato, a food and travel blogger in Venice. Welcome to Venice Meets, a series of live chats from Instagram every day at 6 p.m. CET. Today, I will meet Ray La Mothe, owner of Casamonti, Historic Farm Estate in Tuscany. Hello, Ray.
Ciao, Monica. Everything okay?
Well, yes, welcome back. Because we just spoke 2 minutes ago. Okay, so what's the weather like in Tuscany? Because we just had a major storm with loads of wind.
Here it rained early this morning, and then it's been basically cloudy all day, and we're supposed to be getting some rain tomorrow afternoon.
Well, you do need a bit of rainbow, don't you? Because it's being fairly dry. You do need a bit of rain.
We do need a lot more rain because the winter here was very dry.
Mm-hmm.
It was not very cold, but it was dry, and we do need for the waterfalls to fill up again. Especially because on the farm itself, we have 3 artesian wells, which go down 150 meters, each one of them, that we have to be able to feed our Cinta Senese pigs. Because if you cannot feed them for 2 or 3 days, but they have to have fresh water all the time.
Of course, yes. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Where about are you in Tuscany?
We're just outside, 1.5 kilometers from the town of Castellina in Chianti, which is one of the, it's the heartland of the Chianti Classico wine region. It's part of one of the original towns in the Chianti Classico, which were called the Chianti League. And this includes Castellina in Chianti, Radda in Chianti, Gaiola in Chianti, and Castelnuovo Berardenga. And these were fought over for many years in the wars between Siena, the Republic of Siena, and the Republic of Florence. And so for a while they were under Florence, then for a while they were under Siena, and back and forth and back and forth. So they all have signs left, but not very much today, of initial fortifications. And the only people who used to complain were the farmers, because the poor things would plant things or have a pig, and if Florentines would come and they would, we need it for our army, and take everything away from them. Then the cities would say, we're coming back, we're liberating you, take away their pigs and all their food. So the farmers basically in this area were the unluckiest farmers in the world.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can imagine. But I was reading on your website that your location, your home is an historic, but really historic. And I'm not talking like 50 years old. We're talking about a long time ago, the property and everything, right?
Yes. The property itself was actually there were 2 properties both together. Ours, which is Casamonti, and our neighbors, which is called Tramonti. And they both belonged to the monks of Monte Oliveto Maggiore.
Okay.
And what they used to do is, if the monks spoke, because there were monks who were supposed to be vowed to silence.
They were the silent ones.
Yeah, or they did something, which they weren't supposed to do. They would exile them here, for a year or so in total silence, and they would work as farmers on the farm.
Oh, wow.
The things which they produced, they consumed, and the rest was sent back to the monastery. And Monte Oliveto Maggiore from here is about an hour's drive.
Okay.
But it's beautiful. And what happened is, at a certain point, they divided, and our neighbor's farm, they put in, because of the church slowly decided to use, the peasant folk to work the farms. So at Casamonti, they continued as monks to run it. And so the structure dates back to the year 1000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, it dates back to the year 1000. While Tramonti was built a little bit later than Casamonti, and there they had put in 2 or 3 families of farmers who were running, the Tramonti farm and also the farm here at Casamonti, which was interesting because when my grandfather bought Casamonti right after the war, it was in 1950, early 1950, 51, 52, he bought it. We still had, the promiscuous system of cultivation. So you had these, these trees which had been bent over and, turned into crosses basically. And attached to these, you had the vineyards tied. Underneath those, they would plant beans. And you had another field where they would plant corn, another field where they would plant wheat. So basically, each farm was a total, it was a total nucleus, And as a kid, I remember also the Cinta Senese pigs, which we have today. But they were just a farm, the very normal farm pigs that you found throughout, the Chianti Classico area. Everybody had those because it was a natural pig to have. You never saw white pigs at that time. And, I'm talking back when I was born in 53, so I'm talking about the 60s.
50 years ago.
And I remember that we had a farm family that was living in Casamonti because my grandfather bought the property because he was a hunter. And we had another property near Montespertoli, which is closer to Florence. And he decided, I don't like it anymore, and I want to find something more in the wilderness. And so he went with this Treccone, who was basically, the real estate agent of the time. And they drove around, and he saw another property near Greve in Chianti, and then they came up to the road of Casamonti. And as they're driving up the road, he sees a jackrabbit running off on one side. He says, then as he comes up to, towards the farm again, he gets out and walks around a little bit, and what does he see? 2 pheasant. And he says, I want this place. And the guy said, yes, okay, well, I've got other places. No, I don't care. I want this one. 2 days later, he had bought Casamonti.
Wow. Interesting.
He was very unusual. In my family, we have some pretty unusual people.
Well, I think generally Tuscan people are a bit eccentric anyway, generally. Come on. Yeah, okay. I mean, or at least all the Tuscan men and women that I met, let's say, they have a little bit of something, a little bit of
he was a very unusual man because he had been one of the last apprentices of the Alinari brothers in Florence, the photographers.
Yeah.
The Alinari. They were very famous photographers in Florence. And he was one of their last apprentices before, it became something which you learned going to school.
Of course. Wow. So I came to Tuscany, I think it's last year, more or less about this time. It was the first time I was coming up more or less your neck of the woods. And it was the first time for me to see the Cinta Senese pigs because I think we've been Facebook friends for at least 10 years, I think, because you're one of the first people I've actually befriended on Facebook. And I remember, and you always talk about your pigs, and I didn't realize how cute they are until I actually...
Oh, they are. They're very cute.
So cute. They are lovely.
They are. The only thing is, you asked me, if I could bring and show a pig. The problem is that as any farmer who breeds pigs will tell you, a pig that weighs 5 kilograms contains at least 10 liters of pee. So the instant you lift it up, it just dumps it on you, and then it starts screaming.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because pigs scream. The instant you touch them, they start screaming.
Oh wow!
And we've had TV crews come here from Linea Verde, and I've had 3 of them, and in every single one of the 3 times they came, in the course of the years, every time somebody, either one of the what do you call them, the photographers,
Yes,
or the guy who was giving, the presentation or whatever, would say, oh, they're so cute inside the stall, go down and they'd pick up one. And they always picked it up facing themselves and say, I love you, my little thing. And then all of a sudden, they would get this wonderful shower of, 10 liters of pee. And so you had all the prop people running back and forth trying to find clothes, to clean these guys up again with, So I had half of Linea Verde taking showers at Casamonti so that we could go on and, and conclude all the...
Next time you come, you should have me on the contract. Picking the pig up. So, okay, what is so particular about the Cinta Senese pigs? Why are they so different from other pigs? Why is the meat so important?
They're very different. Let's go back a little bit with the story of them. It's a pig which nobody knows exactly where it comes from. It's suspected that it comes probably, its origins might be from Persia.
Oh, wow.
Interesting, because those are Islamic countries that never consumed pig. Pig was never important for them. But, they think that it has an origin from the Middle East, and it was taken over and slowly came down. What's interesting is that the Cinta Senese was established basically in the area in Tuscany.
Yes.
With its primarily center in the surroundings of Siena. I guess they just liked it. They liked the animal, and you find it in the crests of, of noble families. It's also in the what do you call it? The Palazzo del Mangia in Siena, in the piazza, where it says, you have the good government of the city and the good government of the countryside. And the good government of the countryside, there's a farmer pushing a Cinta Senese up the hill, and it's just a perfect Cinta Senese with the white sash and everything, which I'll describe to you now. And this was actually in 1338, about.
Wow.
1338 that Lorenzetti painted this. The Cinta Senese is distinctive because it's black, completely black. It has a double snout, in the sense that it's twice as thick as that of a normal pig, because it's an animal that digs all the time.
Okay.
It has its ears, which always fall over the eyes, and that's because it goes through the wilderness, and the ears protect the eyes from being scratched by the bushes and the brambles. And it can live on anything. We use it as a bulldozer to clean out our woods, because we have breeding stalls and everything, and our pigs, we operate in what is called a closed circuit. A closed circuit means that we have the breeders, we have three males, 3 boars, and we have some 26 females, sows, and each one is a family.
Okay.
And when the sow is pregnant, she stays with the male the entire 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, which is down to the day. Gestational period, yes. With all pigs.
So you can actually, once you know they're pregnant,
absolutely.
That's sorry guys, these days I'm busy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
And
that is good,
it's really incredibly accurate. The most on time animals in the world.
Wow.
And, so we take them at that point when we can always tell when the female is about to give birth, because her teats lower down to the ground, basically, almost, because they're filled with milk. So then we take her inside. We have birthing building, which is divided. It's an L, basically, which has birthing stalls where we put, the female so she can have her babies. And in the space of a day or two, you go in there and these little squealy things are running all over the place.
How many little piglets will a female have generally?
It depends on the age of the sow itself.
Mm.
The first births are usually 2-3 piglets, not that much. But as it proceeds in what we call its career, its breeding career, it'll reach up to 7-8, rarely more than that. The interesting thing is that with the Cinta Senese is that the female has usually an odd number of breasts.
Oh,
It can have 11, it can have 13, it can have 9, or it can have 10.
okay.
And it will never make more piglets, obviously, than the teats that it has.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And another thing that's interesting is we've had cases, because especially, when we started, since the Cinta Senese was in the early 1900s, it had been listed, as an animal on the extinction list. It was just doomed. And when we decided to try to save this animal, it was myself and another 9 breeders. We decided, let's do this seriously. Let's try, to do something, because the animal is really interesting. And at that point, there were 250 animals.
That's nothing.
That's all that was left. So we enlisted 2 things. We acted in 2 ways, which I think we were really, in this, I have to say, was the most brilliant thing we did. We attacked the situation politically and scientifically.
Okay.
And let me explain. We went to the politicians and we said, there's this race of pigs. This is Tuscany. And at the time, it was the center left that was, governing Tuscany, which it almost always has. And we said, if you guys, want to do something which is really good, you keep, at the time, the governorship was talking about, oh, we need to do things, for health and for the community and, for animals and for the benefit and for green. And it was the beginning sort of the green economy.
Yeah,
way back, the first beginning sparks of it.
Yeah.
And so we convinced them. They said, oh, yeah, this seems like a really good idea. And they gave us, they put, at our disposal, the entire, now they no longer exist, the provinces that we used to have provinces in Italy. Now all left are the regions, but the province of Siena.
Okay.
And we had, the assistance of the director and all these other people there. We're all specialists, from the veterinarian
because
to the assessor of funds and this and that. And we managed to, to get them also to finance, because we needed financing to be able to do this kind of thing. And the second thing that we did that was intelligent was that we enlisted the help, and we were also very lucky, of Professor Franchi. Professor Franchi was the rector of the zoological department of the University of Florence. And under him, he had the genetics section, animal genetics and animal husbandry.
Is it the same person that did the Chianina?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like the Chianina, yeah.
Okay.
And,
I remember. I studied. Yeah. Okay.
And what they did is, and what we did is, we said, there's just this is what we have. There were 6 farmers at the time who had these Cinta Senese, which they had just kept, because they liked the animal. Yeah. And, but they were all crossed with, American Durocs, with wild boar, white, large white, and landrace and all kinds of different stuff. And we says, how do we genetically deprogram these animals? Because what we did is the opposite of what we applied Mendel's laws backwards.
Yeah, of course. You went from mixed to pure.
Exactly. And so it took us from, my God, we set up the consortium, the 9 of us, we set up the consortium in the year 2000.
Okay.
But we had already started, buying, getting the pigs from these people and trying to do our own little bit, which was, pretty difficult. 1996, 1997. In 2000, we actually founded the Consorzio per la tutela della Cinta Senese. Okay, that was the original consortium, and so the Professor Franchi said, this is really an interesting thing, and so we get calls, Ray, your male, your boar 438 should be crossed with sow 592, which belongs to Giovanni.
Yes.
So you and Giovanni should get together and that. So there were Cinta Senese traveling all over the place, crossing and mixing, to pull out.
Friendship be built, I suppose, as well out of that.
Yeah. And the thing is, at the beginning, I remember, you'd have a group of little pigs born, and you'd have 6 pigs. Okay, let's say. One was a beautiful Cinta Senese, perfect. Then you had a white one, a brown one that looked like a wild boar, and one that you had no idea what it was, And so immediately we had to start the division between these can be, go for meat, basically. These are just bred to be butchered to make salami, sausages, and everything else. This other one is to be traded or sold or whatever.
He's my champion. He's my champion. Yeah, pedigree.
And as we went along, it took us 10 years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow.
Yeah, it took us 10 years, and I tell you, it was a lot of sacrifice. But it took us 10 years, and now they're being picky when they come to select our animals on whether the tail has the perfect curl.
You got the pedigree way. You got the pedigree way.
In the white sash, because the Cinta Senese is black, completely black, except for the Cinta, which is a belt. And that covers the front legs and around the chest and back. Now, if they find even a little black spot, a tiny black spot in the middle of the white, this animal, butcher. So it's gotten very strict. The only thing is that I have to say, 2 quick bits of information. I was president of the consortium after the first year of its founding for 3 years, and we're the ones who presented the request, which blew the common market's mind, because we didn't ask, for prosciutto di Parma, for a single product, or Parmigiano, or that. He said, we want the DOP on a whole pig.
For the animal.
The market said, we've never done that before.
So you were the first one.
Yeah, we were first because Chianina, who did the same, followed our example.
Yeah, of course.
Always through the Tuscan regional government. But the Chianina people had it easier because we had already done all the work, convincing the common market that there was no reason and no law that prohibited from, getting a controlled denomination of origin, basically, on an entire animal. So it took a long time. In fact, we started in 2001. In 2006, we awarded the DOP.
Cool.
So the consortium changed and it became Consorzio di tutela della Cinta Senese DOP. Okay? And that's the way it still is today.
Wow.
In the meantime, the animal numbers kept growing. And today I can say there are between 30 and 40,000 Cinta Senese.
From 250. Wow. Exactly. Amazing. Wow, what a thing to be proud of. My God.
Oh, yeah, it was a total success story. And we applied to the Ministry of Agriculture, the MIPAF, the Ministry of in Rome, and we said, what we want to do, since we put in all the work And all kinds of people in Umbria, Marche, Emilia, everybody else had bought Cinta Senese, and they wanted to get into the action too and say, or else they just wanted to raise some pigs and say, this is Cinta Senese, and we'll sell it as Cinta Senese. So we asked for a special deliberation, and this was presented through the MIPAF and sent up and finally approved by the Common Market in 2015. And it's called erga omnes. Erga omnes means that either you have a Cinta Senese which is controlled by the controlling body that we have from the consortium, which is the IFCQ. It's a body of controllers, and you have to meet certain standards and so forth.
Yeah, of course.
And when you sell the product has to have, the red mark, the thingy besides your label, that it has a number on it, which, with that number, we can go back, in our registrations, all the way back to find out who the mother of that animal and when it was born.
Exactly like you do with wine, and it should be like
it's exactly the same. It is the most totally traceable animal there is on the face of the earth.
Sorry, go on.
No, the other thing which sets it a little bit apart, which means that now a lot of people found themselves all of a sudden that they've got black and white pigs, but they're not Cinta Senese anymore.
Of course,
they're pigs.
Yeah.
So it forced people, to come back into the consortium and allow themselves to be controlled, which I think is a very good thing.
Absolutely, because you also have control on the quality and and how the animal is treated and what's given to the animal. So it is a great thing. From the point of view of the consumer, the meat, what's different from another pig? Why? I can tell you because I tried it, so I know.
Okay. The major difference, there are two differences basically. One which you don't notice and one which you do notice. The one that you notice is the fact that the meat has a layer of fat, what we call in Italian it's marizzatura. I don't know what marizzatura is in English, although I'm American, that's fine. It's the streaking of
the vein. Yeah, the vein.
Yeah, it's the streaking of fat inside the meat, which means that you take and you cook a pork chop from a Cinta Senese, and the fat, which is on the inside, melts, and your piece of meat comes out extremely tender and tasty. Because, as everyone knows, the tasty part of any meat is the fat.
And Ray, it doesn't shrink so much.
No, absolutely not. But consider. The white pig that you buy when you go to the supermarket, Monica, is usually about 6 months old, from when it's born to when it's butchered.
Wow, only.
Yeah. The whites which are Modena, Cremona, all those areas, those are 6-month pigs. The Cinta Senese, from when it's born to when we finally butcher it, is between 18 and 24 months old.
Wow.
Because it lives out in the countryside freely. Where it has, they all have shelters, fresh water, which is provided to them. Plus, we give them special food, which has all to be certified as OGM free. This is the choice that we made as a consortium. So there's that what you're getting is an animal which is fed things which are not going to be bad for you.
Yes, of course.
And it's butchered when it's about between 150 and 160 kilograms in weight. And we don't butcher on a farm. The animals are picked up, special truck, brought to the butchery, where they're kept for 2 days so that they're peaceful, the adrenaline levels go down. They're kept, in a really nice environment. And then they slowly have this walk which they go through. They call it the walk of death, unfortunately, because nasty name. But anyway, they go through, they go inside, they're zapped, with an electric thing that comes down, and they die instantly.
Okay. So they're
And
not.
then the veterinarians check all the organs. They're cleaned, washed, and so forth, and then they are returned to us because on our farm we're one of the 3 varieties of members of the consortium, because you have those who are only breeders.
Mhm.
It says that they breed the animals and they sell them to somebody who
That
picks
was
them up,
true.
brings them to the to the butchery, and and they work the animals or whatever. Then you have another category, which is like us, the people who breed them and also work their own pigs, because we have a small butchery on our farm, and we make salami, sausages, all the various
You make your own product.
the products, the typical products of of Tuscan Norcineria, the Tuscan butchery system. And then you have the other ones, which are just pure, transformers. They're the ones who have bought the pigs from the, from the producer, from the breeder, and they have them butchered, they pick them up, and they transform them with their own labels and so forth. Those are the commercial ones, basically. They're the larger commercial people.
Yeah, but considering considering the small numbers of animals, compared to the rest of of Italy and stuff, it's still cannot be called really industry, isn't it? Because it's still small in a way.
It's still small numbers. Yes, it's not. Well, consider we butcher twice a month, 6 animals per time.
Wow. That's nothing really.
Consider that they butcher like 1,000 animals a day up in
exactly.
in those areas,
So, and one thing you were telling me when I was down, I was down in Tuscany last time, and we went through, because we actually went through, I cannot remember another place where they filmed the last Pinocchio with what's his name? Oh my God.
With Benigni.
Yes, I went in the farm where they did the farm. It's like oh my God, it was like agriturismo kind of thing. Anyway, they had all the Cinta Senese lying there, and they were so cute because they were just lying there. They told me they were very, very calm animals.
Oh, they are, totally.
Very, very easy.
The Cinta Senese is possibly one of the most peaceful animals that you will ever meet. The interesting thing is this: if you have, for example, here on the farm, when I was a kid, as I was telling you, the farmers used to have some pigs, and we kept some, and we kept white pigs because they were the white variety. And if a bird or a pigeon or anything fell inside, they'd immediately eat it. You go and see our Cinta Senese when we feed them in the morning, and they're there eating their stuff, and between them, you've got a dove eting a pigeon. You've got squirrels stealing their stuff, and also the what do you call them? That we have a lot of roebuck.
No, I don't know in Italiano.
They're deer. I caprioli. Caprioli. We have tons of caprioli. They eat everything. So we're there usually in the morning when we feed them, chasing away the caprioli, because if not, they'll eat all the stuff that's Now, they cost us 7,000 euros a month to feed them, So I would rather feed the pigs than feed the caprioli and so forth.
You can do ragu di caprioli. You can do ragu di caprioli.
Yeah, you try catching one. But we do have people from town, who have special licenses, and they come and they're hunters, and they take a special course, and they cull, a certain number of the males to keep the population down, because they've exploded. The 2 major problems we have are those, and the other problem, which all of Italy has, which are the wild boar.
But now
the vineyards, they eat the grapes, they do all kinds of stuff,
With this quarantine, then, major problems. because of course hunting. I mean, I'm happy because they're not shooting at the back of my house. But I can imagine, but you know, in my countryside, if we leave some animals, is good because they kill them all. But you know, I can imagine it must be a really big problem right now because nobody's shooting.
Nobody is out. They will only come if you have some particular situation that you have. For example, if we have a wild boar that manages to break through the electrified wires and the fence and get in for some reason, we can call these people. They'll come down, you know, with their rifles and stuff, and boom, they'll shoot it because it could get the females pregnant. Because when the little piglets are born, we select the ones which we think are really the best, you know, for breeding, together with the inspectors of the consortium, and the ones which we don't think are going to be, you know, just to be fattened, the males are immediately castrated when they're, you know, 10 days old. And then we put them out in a section. We wean them in the sense that in the structure I was telling you before, where you know where they're born, is divided into two sections. The first is where they're born, and the other is the weaning stalls. And there they stay for about 4 months until they weigh about 25, 30 kilos. Then we'll take all of that group and put them in one section of the woods. Because Casamonti, as a farm, is 80 hectares of surface. And it's divided, it looks like an orange, because it's divided all into sections, and each section has, you know, running water and shelter, and the woods, and we put animals in there. Those animals that are put in there will remain there until they're ready, you know, to be butchered or to be sold to somebody who says, you know, I would like, you know, a Cinta Senese of yours and so forth. Instead, the ones which are chosen as breeders are usually kept separately, and then we exchange, because we don't, it's become more of a barter system, you know. You've got boar number 10,722, which is a really far line from mine. How about if I trade, I've got, you know, boar this. And so we exchange, basically. The one thing which I did want to tell you, you had asked me before, what was also the other difference with the Cinta Senese as far as the meat. The Cinta Senese is the only pig known where the cholesterol is good cholesterol. Because it contains the fat of the Cinta Senese pig, contains, it's based on oleic acid and all the omegas. It has the fat of the Cinta, that's why a lot of people buy lard from us, cured lard, hot bread, you know, piece of lard on top, and that, because it is the same as putting olive oil on a slice of bread and eating it. Contains the same vitamins and the same acids. It's the only pig in the world that is good for your cholesterol.
I didn't know that. So, talking about olive oil, Cinta Senese, but you also do olive oil.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay,
so
olive oil.
You got about 15 minutes.
Okay, this is to show, this is a typical bottle of, I've just got mine for the simple fact, you know, that people can see it. The important thing is the bit at the top where it says, you know, olio extravergine di oliva, even though it shows it backwards. But anyway, the important thing is that, and the fact that it's a dark bottle. What I did want to say, especially to people who are not from Italy, because this is something which most Italians, although not all, know. The farms that start up from northern Italy and go down basically to the bottom of Lazio, are usually fairly small farms. And in their production, they have a set number of olive trees, usually. It's a secondary production. Wine in most places is the primary production. And then they have olive groves and olive trees, The thing is, it's still done the olives are pruned by hand.
Of course.
They're taking care of, the ground around them is kept clean and so forth. The any kind of shoots are cut, to keep them clean. They're sprayed with copper sulfate, once a year to harden the wood itself, and they're kept like little, children because they're very precious. And the picking is all done by hand.
Yes,
still. The use of machinery limits itself to these combs. There's these lances that have these brushes at the end that vibrate and nets underneath.
That's also given, right, of the fact that the majority of olive production is on areas that are on hills, so
they're marginal.
It will be
they're marginal areas.
Anyway.
Yeah, if you consider Tuscany, basically wherever they could, but wherever they could plant vineyards, they put vineyards. Where they put the olive groves is because they couldn't put vineyards.
Yeah, exactly.
It was,
an olive tree will stay even like the olive tree will stay even like this. It doesn't have a problem.
Yeah. So anyway, the thing that has to be said is it's still treated as something which comes right after the wine harvest. I'm not going to talk much about wines because wines today they're all I think basically almost, I would say 90%, if not more, of Italian wines are really high standards. As your friend was saying yesterday.
Yes.
Most of them, especially in the South, are not known at all because they don't do any kind of promotion. I happen to live in an area where our wines are possibly the best known in the world. But the thing is, it's down to so much technique now, between, agricultural practices in the vineyard and, and the work inside the cellars, that it's difficult for you to find a bad bottle of wine. So there's not much, to say. The only thing which makes Tuscany a little bit different is that some 20 years ago, about maybe even a little bit more, there was a small revolution within the Chianti Classico region, because a lot of people said, we want to make wines that last longer. So we want to put in more Sangiovese, grape, and less of the other, types. And the consortium said, no, we can't do that, and there were people opposing it and so forth. So a lot of producers just said, okay, we're going to do it on our own. And so they started producing, their own wine of the estate. And then we had this American journalist came through, and he went through tasting, various wines, and he says, my God, these are really good. And he called them Super Tuscans.
Yes.
So Super Tuscans basically is the wine which the cellar master makes according to his taste.
Exactly.
Almost all of them are pure Sangiovese with maybe, some touch of Merlot or a little bit of Cabernet or something else to them. But that is the real wine, that I sign. We produce, for example, our own Elogio wine, and that's our Super Tuscan. And then we make, like everybody else, a Chianti Classico Reserva, and, other wines.
Well, let's say about wine, more or less, you can find information.
Oh,
with
yes.
With olive oil instead, there is, I think, less, what do you call it, sophistication,
Right.
There's more of an artisan work.
Exactly. Yeah, the major problem is that because as I was saying before, all the farms that go down towards basically Lazio, these are all people like myself, and the people who work for me, and, you can call in if you have more olives. I've got 3,000 olives on this farm, plus another farm with another couple of thousand. So our total production is 10,000 liters.
How old are your trees?
All different ages.
Oh, okay.
They're different ages. We have olive trees which are 25 years old, 30 years old, some which are more recent, like 10 years old. Then we have some which were hit by the original frost that were cut at the base, and they shoot up again, you know, and those have been replanted. So basically, the part underneath, the roots underneath, are maybe 100 years old, but the part outside, you know, anyway. The thing is that still now, the areas of production of the oil in Toscana, in Umbria, and Marche, and so forth, still have these, you know, the mills, which are generally not very, very big. They're not huge industrial mills. And they'll cater, you know, to their set of clients who religiously go there every year. The olives are brought in, you know, in the baskets. They're passed through a machine that washes them, takes away the leaves, presses them, cold press. Cold press doesn't mean cold. It means brought, you know, where they heat up to 26 degrees. And then, you know, they're centrifuged, and you get your extra virgin olive oil. Okay?
But what people, and that's what people should understand, extra virgin olive oil. That's the only oil people should buy.
Yes, because the rest, that if you go to Spain, for example, Spain is all mechanical harvesting. They harvest at higher temperatures and produce an oil which tastes of nothing, but they sell tons of it. And it's the same exact varietal of tree that you have in Tunisia and in the Arab countries. And I've seen the stuff that comes from Tunisia, and which is sold in places, you know, like in the States. I don't want to say the names of, you know, big supermarkets like Costco or Walmart or any of these, because, you know, they could get upset. But, you know, there's stuff which is sold there which says, you know, a product of the Mediterranean. Oh, yeah. When it comes, it's maybe, you know, bottled in Italy, and it says bottled in Italy, but it arrives here where it has been treated and with the water being evaporated, and you get these tank loads of this jelly going, you know, into these places, and that jelly is then reconstituted with water, and filtered, and that's the stuff that you get in a bottle. Because if you want to buy a decent bottle of oil and it costs you less than 25, 30 euros for a bottle, rest assured that God knows what it is, you know? Another thing that has to be said is never, ever buy oil which is in a transparent bottle. Because the one thing that will damage oil, and this is what we tell people who come here for tours, and they've all learned, is always dark bottle. That's why the bottle that we use is a dark. Well, now I've got the light behind me.
The thing that my mama always told me when I was a kid, and I remember, and I always done it that way. She always kept the bottle. She never left the bottle outside. So whenever she bought, she actually used to buy the big giant metal 5 or 10 liters. Then she had her bottle, so that was kept in a dark, cool place. And then she used to fill the bottle, but the bottle was never left out. It's always inside a cupboard. Instead, sometimes when I go to people's houses, I see the bottle sitting there, and it's not sitting there because they took it out. They just leave it there. That spoils your immediately your oil, because of course it's you know,
the sun rays, the sun, basically the ultraviolet light. What it does is it modifies it.
Of course.
You know, and it becomes paler and paler and paler, and then it just kills it, you know, completely. The other thing which I think is important, especially for because it's something which I get asked a lot by Americans, especially. They say, how long does oil last? Okay. From the Italian law.
Sorry, Ray, I'm laughing. Because in my house, it doesn't last.
Oh, that's a really tough quality.
It doesn't last. I don't have a problem.
I have yet to taste one.
My olive oil, when I have olive oil in my house, it goes. I never had to think how long does it last.
No, but I do have people who ask me that, because, and the thing is, olive oil doesn't have an expiration date, because an olive oil doesn't go bad. Consider that in ancient times, when people used to fill out, the bottles of wine, we used fiaschi, the straw things, right?
Yeah.
And since half the time they didn't own corks because a cork was expensive, they used to make a little thing with paper, to put on top. And what they used to do is at the top of the wine, put a little layer of oil, because oil totally insulates the wine.
Yeah.
So that's how people used to. I remember when I was a kid, that's how the farmers had it. They had all these, fiaschi standing up with a little bit of oil. And the thing that you did when you wanted to open your bottle of a thing was take, a piece of some cotton or a piece of, of paper and get the oil out, and then you would drink your wine.
Of course. Now, the only thing is with olive oil, as long as you keep it in the dark and you sealed, closed, not obviously open, you're okay. My question, though, I've got a question for you, though, since we're talking about how long it lasts. What happens is that if you get a bottle and you do you put inside maybe like a rosemary, you put inside chili peppers and stuff like to flavor it. How long? Yes, but how long should you keep that? Because I'm not worried about the oil going off. I'm worried about the thing inside.
I would put this, if you are putting it inside, I would not leave it for more than 1 month.
And then
I would take the oil away.
Okay. When you filter it,
Oil out.
Okay.
Take the oil out, throw away whatever it is, the peperoncino,
you just
the
filter
hot pepper or the rosemary or whatever. Get rid of that. Because the only thing it's going to do in there is going to continue to macerate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was
at a certain point, it's going to give a bitter taste.
Exactly.
While if you leave it for a month, you've given enough of the primary esters that come out, of the thing to the oil. Your oil is flavored in your fine. For example, we always have a bottle, of the one with the peperoncino with chili peppers in it to put on our pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I love it.
But I usually do the small bottle, so that goes quite quickly. But sometimes you think, I like to do a big bottle, that way, like with rosemary, so that way is infused already. But I was always
when you make a roast, you can use that directly if you don't have fresh rosemary with you. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, that's good. Okay. So
just take it out after about a month.
Now, characteristic of extra virgin olive oil visually.
Basically, visually, as soon as it's made, we on the farm don't filter it. Because usually a lot when it's put out commercially, most farms will filter the oil.
Yes.
Since one of the characteristics that we look for in Italy as Italians, this, is the pizzichino. Pizzichino is that spiciness which the oil has. And the spiciness is not given by the oil itself. It's given by that tiny bit of residue of the leaves and of the skins that are inside the oil. So when you toast your piece of bread and you rub some garlic on it, and you put that olive oil, it has that spicy taste to it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
The problem is that as you leave your oil sitting there, after maybe a month, it's gone down and it's perfect olive oil, but it no longer has that pizzichino quality that we like so much. That's the only thing to be said. And it should be clear, it varies according to the region and also the varietals that are used.
Of course.
Because you have areas up north that generally are all oils made with monocultivars.
And it's very delicate in the north.
Yeah. The further you come, for example, Tuscany, Tuscany, Umbria, and also the Marche. Instead, we use a variety of different kinds of trees, to make our oil. So, for example, we use lecino, frantoio, maurino, which is a pollinator, because the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that 2/3 of the olive trees that are female are not pollinators. And if you don't have male plants that pollinate, you're not going to get any olives.
Of course.
I mean, this has happened in more than one place. And we have, for example, our olive groves, we've put them in a pattern of 5 meters by 5 meters by 5 meters. So our hillside, is all set up that way so that we can work the olive trees, going with the tractor and the machinery through them.
Yes.
And we had to plant them in May.
Right.
Because at the end of May is when you have the prevailing winds that each year repeat themselves. And you have to see where those winds are coming from so that you can put the pollinators in the right place so their pollen will go and fertilize the rest of the olive trees, the female olive trees in the groves.
Okay, they are asking me something, and I was going to ask you about. We carried on talking.
The bug that's decimating.
Talk about the bug that's decimating. Did you have any problem? Did you have? Was your olive grove?
No, there are 2 bugs basically. One is the thing called the fly. I don't know if this person is referring to the.
I think of the big one of 2 years ago. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
probably
exactly. We had attacks before. We never had them. The fly comes when you have a humid summer. And usually what happens is when we reach September, a treatment is done and it kills them off. And then in the end of October, we pick the olives and there's not that much of a problem. A couple of years ago, it was such a weird summer that they kept repeating and repeating and repeating. And we went through 5 or 6 different generations. And we just didn't pick anything because, they were just totally eaten away. Xylella, Xylella is a problem which started down in Puglia, in the Puglia region of Italy. And apparently it was brought in by mistake by some people who were fashioning some beautiful gardens and landscaping them. And they brought in some palm trees from I don't know where. And the palm tree had this virus and an insect in it, we decided, we like each other. And so the insect would go and it just, puncture the wood of the olive tree. And in the course of a couple of years, because Xylella is not immediate, Xylella develops in the course of 2 or 3 years. And it basically dries out your tree.
Wow.
And it is extremely contagious, not because it passes from tree to tree. It's not like the coronavirus. It's transported by this little insect, that carries over this bacteria that attacks the tree. The thing is, so far, they have not found any system to treat it, except by cutting down the trees. And initially, they were cutting the trees and eradicating the roots and everything, and burning them. Oops. Now they realize that the
time is running out. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, only just 5 minutes. Okay, that's right.
Just to finish it, basically, the problem with Xylella is that it's also attacked some olive groves in France.
Right.
So the French are studying it together with the Italians, and so far they have not come up with any final solution. The one thing which they have noticed is that the trees who were infected with Xylella and that they cut to the ground, right at the base, and burnt the top part, but didn't pull out the roots. These trees, after a while, threw out new shoots, and apparently the shoots that come out
resistant.
the xylella.
Okay.
So it's sort of, reprogramming itself.
Yes.
The problem is that these in Puglia, they had trees which were 1,000 years old, these huge things which, with 5 of their trees, you produce as much oil as you do with all of the trees I have on my farm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And what they've been doing now is they've cut a swath across Italy where in a certain area, they've cut down all the trees to try to keep it from there down.
Terra bruciata.
Not let it, jump across and, destroy the rest of the olive production in the rest of Italy.
Hanno fatto terra bruciata l'Italy.
Ah, sì, proprio.
Yeah, that's way big. Okay. Wow, I could stay here hours talking to you. Love it. Have you got a sign with all your details where people can reach you?
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you so much. Also because people can come here. Go back a bit. Go back. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you will find Ray at TuscanRay@gmail.com, and then you find him on Twitter and Instagram as Tuscan Ray. Your website, you got 2, 3. How many have you got?
I have several websites. The easiest place to find me is on Facebook.
Okay.
If they just type in, Casamonti, they'll find it in the search. It'll give them Azienda Agricola Casamonti, which is the Facebook page of the farm, where they can see olive groves, pigs. There's everything on there.
Do wine, olive, and everything tasting as well. Okay.
Yes, that's what we do. We do the tours. Well, we used to do the tours.
You will. Okay. And do you sell abroad as well if people want to buy your produce?
All the time. We not
the
but the oil in our wines. We have 5 different wines plus our olive oil. Yes, I get orders all the time, and we ship regularly because goods are not blocked. It's just people who are blocked from moving.
Okay, that's perfect. Ray, what can I say? Thank you so much. I can't wait to have some ragu or Cinta Senese now. I've actually when I came over in Tuscany, I went down to one of the Chianina producer that had also the Cinta Senese. So, and he was both a producer and a butcher. So, and he was part of a consortium. So, I came over with a box of food like that. The best sausages I ever had in my entire life, I got to say.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm dying to try your bacon, though. I think you want to try the bacon from your farm. Okay, listen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. You got to go and get Cinta Senese. Trust me, you got to try this meat. It is amazing. Thank you so much, Ray.
Ciao, Monica.
Ciao. Carissimo, ciao.